All right, welcome everybody. So congratulations on your scholarship awards. It is an honor for SIM Portland to be able to extend scholarships to deserving students in MIS programs in Oregon. University of Portland has been a longtime partner of the SIM chapter, and I'm looking forward to hearing from you about the MIS programs that you're enrolled in, your career interests, as well as your perspective on the value of SIM and the SIM scholarship. And I have to say, I did look you all up on LinkedIn, and I was very impressed that you all have your LinkedIn profiles out there. They look great. And I cannot stress enough the importance of networking throughout your career. Continue to do what you're doing, continue to definitely network. Never stop. It is a journey for sure. So welcome. So what I want to do is I just want to start off by doing a little introduction. So I'd love for each of you to share your name, where you grew up, and why you selected the University of Portland. So very general to start with. Natalia, can you start us off?
Yeah, so my name's Natalia. I'm an OTM and finance major at UP right now. And I grew up in San Jose, California. Right now I moved to Utah, so I'm here in around like Salt Lake City area right now. But yeah, how I came to choose UP, I was going through the whole selection process. And it wasn't until I actually came to UP's campus, I just fell in love with it. It was the very cliche and saying, right when I stepped on, I knew it was the right campus for me and right pick for me. And then as well as the business program, because I knew I wanted to get into business. The program was awesome, and they had a variety of different majors to go into. So there was accounting, finance, and OTM, and so I thought those were like good options to as a broad, because I came in as undeclared. So yeah, and I love the UP feel of small community, and it has been a great 4 years so far, and I just love UP so much.
Yeah, it's a beautiful campus, but it's got such a sense of community.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's great. That's great. Thank you, Natalia. On?
Yeah, for sure. So my name is Ann, and
sorry.
I mean it's either way that works. I got called a lot. So I'm originally from Vietnam, and I got to the States probably 4 years ago. And right now I'm the senior in OTM major. And the reason for me to pursue OTM was probably from my mother. She works at a hospital as a health insurance person. So she is pretty much like, she knows her way within the operations field. And right now, she kind of like directed me into the technology side of it. And yeah, that's why I picked UP as my my first goal to go to.
Nice. Yeah. And their technology in healthcare is everywhere. It's amazing to, if you can get in to healthcare in technology, there's unlimited work out there for sure in that area. Thanks, Anne. And then Ben.
Yeah. Hey, I'm Ben Firstman. I'm from Seattle, Washington. And choosing UP, it's always an interesting question that I get asked a lot. And I always have a weird answer to it, because I don't really know exactly why I chose UP. A number of things though, like I was looking for smaller type schools that did still have like a business school, because I went to a smallerish high school, and I really liked the one-on-one relationship you could have with like a professor. And so that was one of the main things I was looking at, but I know I wanted to get into business, specifically something in analytics, even though I originally thought I was going to do accounting, and I didn't even know about OTM until I actually got to UP. But before, picking UP, I looked at a number of schools back east, but kind of like Natalia said, randomly, I have a twin brother who was touring the University of Oregon, and somebody was like, hey, you should go check out University of Portland. And we went and checked it out, and I also just really kind of fell in love with it. And I didn't really know like why, but it was just kind of like my gut feeling. And so I ended up coming here and choosing OTM, and it's been great, and I haven't looked back, and I've loved every minute of it.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. It's great to hear where you're all coming from and your different perspectives. I know, Natalia and Ben, you had mentioned that you heard of the OTM program after you got to the University of Portland. Can you kind of talk a little bit about what motivated you to pursue this program specifically? Because you both mentioned that you were interested in business. So what was it about OTM that really piqued your interest? Ben, do you want to go first, and then we'll go back over to Natalia?
Sure. Yeah. So I've always been like a very like analytical person. I like numbers a lot, which is why I was told by a lot of people that accounting would be something like a field of interest for me. And it wasn't until I took, I think, my intro to OTM class my freshman year at school, and I actually got involved with the club on campus that works with SIM, UPOMA, and I really kind of liked a lot of what OTM had to say in terms of it being just like this kind of hybrid between business and technology, because I did have this interest in a lot of these technologies, but like because I'm business centric, I wanted kind of that kind of hybrid, and I know that that's the way business is kind of changing right now and warping towards, and so I really like valued that about OTM, and every single additional class I took in OTM as I was exploring OTM still, like I continued to love it more and more and more, and so it became a pretty easy like pick for me eventually. But yeah, I guess at first I really came into college not exactly knowing what I wanted to do in particular in business, but I had that business interest, and then OTM really just piqued my interest when exposing me to all these different aspects of technology within business, which is why I really, really like OTM quite a bit.
That's great. That's great. Natalia?
Yeah, I think Ben's hit it spot on. Because I'm also an analytical person. I was thinking of going into accounting first off when I was coming into UP. And then like Ben, when I first got into the first class, which is the intro to OTM class, that's when I really got a feel for what the OTM program is and what it means for a UP student to be an OTM major. And I think what really motivated me with picking this as one of my majors is that I think the OTM program really prepares you for the real world and making you have like this critical mindset and, you know, just being a well-rounded person. And I think the professors are awesome, and they're really well connected. And they have showed me like this is the path of like the future, because we're seeing that, you know, especially right now with the pandemic, that, you know, more companies are working remotely or, you know, integrating more technology in their day-to-day operations. And I think that's just the way the future it is. And, you know, and looking at the classes that the OTM program offers, like project management, system analysis, database, all these classes, I realized I can use like my creative side and analytical side to, you know, come up with solutions for, you know, like business decisions or, you know, improving business operations. And I think that's, you know, a really awesome tool to have. And, you know, I think it just overall, this whole program just prepares you as a well-rounded professional.
Yeah, that's great. I love hearing about creativity, because when we think a lot of times about IT professionals, we think very business and analytical and very structured. So it's great to hear that there's that other side where you're really using your creativity, because there's definitely lots of opportunity in technology to really create and bring things to the table. So that's exciting. And you had indicated that you did you say you heard about the OTM program before you came to University of Portland, or did you learn about OTM when you got to University of Portland? And why did you pursue OTM?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I was actually a transfer student from Peninsula College, and then my way to OTM was that I know that I'm going to go into operations management and or supply chain management, And I was actually looking for schools that has those programs. And then UP suddenly popped up, and it has a integrated technology program within the operations management. So that's where I was like, okay, this is actually pretty cool because you can have like two deals in within one major. Um, so that's why I want to go to UP, and especially for the OTM program.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. You know, we kind of talked a little bit about why you pursued the program, but what I really am interested in is what has been the most rewarding and or interesting thing about the program, or the biggest aha, like you didn't expect from the program when you entered into it. Um, and Natalia, can you jump in on that one first?
Yeah, so I'm a double major with finance and OTM. So, I get to see the two different sides of, what kind of the business programs offers to each major. And I think with OTM, they provide so many opportunities to like connect with professionals. So we have, the board of, different professionals coming in, as well as like the OTM club. I think this just program as a whole just like prepares you for the future. And I think during my classes, I think has helped me, become and realize, how to use my skills as I enter into the workforce, because they really prepare you for real world problems, and not just, just textbook questions and things like that. So they're really preparing you for the world. And I really appreciate that, because that's what, I'm coming to college for. And yeah, so I think overall the whole program is just an awesome thing. And it's a kind of fairly new program, since I think they, introduced it in 2008. And so, Anne touched upon on this, like how we have, a glimpse of like different industries as well, integrate into one major. And I think that's really beneficial and makes you more of like a well-rounded professional when you go into the workforce.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. And what about you? What's the most kind of rewarding or interesting part of the program that was unexpected?
Yeah, so definitely the technology part of it, because coming into this major, I was like, okay, I'm definitely just gonna touch just a little bit on the technology side, and then kind of like focus on the operation side of it. Because originally I hated computers, like I hated all kind of technology because I was not good at it. And then once I took some programming classes with Ben over here, I fell in love with it, because the more I do it, the better I got. So yeah, that's why I'm kind of like leaning towards the data side now. So
Nice.
a little bit ironic, yeah.
Yeah. And Ben, what about you? Biggest aha?
Yeah, so this is a great question, by the way. And I would say the coolest part about OTM, in my opinion, over the last 3 years of being a part of it now, is seeing how, applying something that I learn in a class that may be even theory based, and applying it to something that's a real world problem or issue, and seeing in my work outside of school, seeing the connections that are made between things that I've learned in class and how I can actually apply them to real world like problems that I've had to solve during my internship or at other work. And it's really cool to see that come to fruition. And I think what's super valuable about OTM in particular, I think over other majors, is that a lot of the work I feel like that we do in class, it may be theory based at first, but we really dive into how this can be applied to, various problems that are totally real world problems. We're all in this class just before this, and so a supply chain management course, and our project is focused on how we're dealing with the distribution of COVID vaccines. And it's like, that's so cool to me that we can use something that that we're learning in class at a theory based level, and even doing problems from like a workbook, but then like applying it to something that we even have an interest in, or is just something of like, current news today. And like Anne said, the technology side, I think, allows you to do that a lot better. We both have taken an R programming and are currently in a Python programming class, and just using, material that we've learned in that class. So then, something I was able to do on the side was just create like this COVID analysis pulling from like live data from the internet. Like that's something that I wouldn't have been able to do before and I can just do now. So it's just, I love seeing everything that I have kind of like learned kind of come to fruition in sort of a real world example, which has been awesome.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. That it's really cool when you can apply what you're learning. It really helps kind of really get to that point of, I know this, it's a great feeling to really validate what you've learned. So, and that's a great example of COVID too, that there's so much data out there on the internet that you can pull data in for various different purposes and reasons. I'm curious what type of careers that you all are interested in. I heard analytics, auditor, some different perspectives from each of you. But if you could share what career interests, like what job do you want? And I know some of you may already have jobs, so you can share what job you have, but it may not be your dream job, right? It may be a stepping stone to get to where you want. So number one, what type of careers does this program expose for students that graduate in the program? What job, if you do have a job, did you accept or are you pursuing? And lastly, like what types of jobs would you be interested in growing and evolving and moving into? Anybody can start. Anne, you want to start us off on that one?
Yeah, that was a lot of questions. So the first one, I would probably say, I since I kind of like the data analytics side and the programming side of it, probably my career that I'm looking into should be around business system analysis, and or something that has to do with project management, because those are like the best one that I can dive more into the IT side of it, and then that's somehow relate back to the business side. So really to say it's just like a middle person that can handle everything.
Yeah, yeah. Do you have a job as you're finishing up, Anne?
No, I'm actually have an internship coming up this summer, and that's with PACCAR. I'm gonna be their data analyst person for the service.
Nice,
Yeah.
good. So 10 years from now, what career do you think that this program has prepared you for? Where would you want to be?
Honestly, my dream job would be working at a hospital and dealing with IT, electronic record, health record, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's my dream job right there. So
Yeah.
10 years from now, OTM will probably bring me there.
Nice. Natalia?
Yeah, so right now, my interest is in like the information systems field. So after graduation, my role will be an IT auditor. And I think this career path right now is really interesting because, I think it's pretty cool to examine clients' information systems and evaluate them, and, help them assess, manage, and, mitigate risk that could potentially happen. I think what comes with this job is just like, asking the right questions and problem solving. I really like doing all those kind of things. So, I'm excited to kickstart off my career in that kind of pathway. Maybe down like long term, like down the road, maybe using like more of my finance degree and doing probably like a liaison kind of position of like talking between the tech side and the finance side and, combine those two because there's kind of a gap right now. And I think that'd be pretty cool to kind of do for a living. So yeah, so but I'm up to like a lot of things. I'm very adaptable, so just kind of experiencing what I can right now and then figuring out later on.
Yeah, that's great too. And KPMG in that audit role, you will get exposed to many different industries. So, your perspective on where you want to be in 10 years might change as you experience those different industries too. So that's really exciting.
Yeah.
It's exciting not to get pigeonholed in a specific industry unless you really, really, really want to be in that industry.
Exactly.
Cool. Yeah. Ben.
Yeah. So first of all, I do think it's really cool. I think the three of us have a we all three kind of have different perspectives to me of what really OTM is, right? Like, Anne, at first at least, Anne was a little bit more on the operations side because I see OTM as kind of three prongs. You have the operations side, and what Natalia has is the IS, the information side, information system side, and then you have the analytics realm. But they all three, work together super well, which I think is awesome. And I interned for a company for a company that like sold ERP software to food manufacturers a couple years back over the summer, and so I worked strictly in SQL and was kind of looking at what a career path for like being like a database manager would look like, and I really enjoyed it, and I had a great time, and I learned so much, and I thought that was something I'd maybe that would be my career path. And then what I always learned about myself is I need to just try new things and see if I like that. And this last internship that I had at F5 in Seattle, which led to my full-time position now, was more in the analytics realm, and I was a data strategy and insights intern. And I realized that I loved that work even more. And to me, that fit my role better, and where I was, it was a great combination of, using my analytical skills in SQL and potentially in writing code, but developing it and visualizing it and, providing it to various stakeholders throughout the business side of F5 to improve, profit and performance for the whole company. And so it was a great fit for me. And so I want to stay in the analytics realm, and specifically, a business analyst, and even more so, even like a data scientist, and creating, potentially models that can help provide growth for teams within a company or for a company in general. And I think there's so much you can do with data and with, the skills that we've learned in OTM. So that's where I'm at as of right now. But I do see myself in the future at some point moving into some sort of leadership role. And I don't necessarily understand, what that means. And I'm not, saying I have to be at X within a certain amount of years, but I do see myself taking on some sort of leadership role within the business side of things, and not always staying and working with analytics. And then also, as a side note, I have always had I've been a big fan of sports my whole life. And one kind of dream of mine was always working in some sort of kind of operations side of like a sports team. So like being in a baseball front office is something that has, long been like a passion of mine. And if the opportunity presents itself later on in my life, like, if I still have that itch, I'll totally go for that. So that's always on the back of my mind at the same time.
Yeah, that's very cool. Very interested. Did you say you accepted a job at F5?
I did. Yeah. Yeah. I finished my internship in August, and they extended to me a full-time offer that starts June 1st. And
Nice.
I accepted a couple months later. So yeah, super excited.
Definitely a growing company. Lots going on there.
Lots of acquiring. Yeah.
Yeah. And did you say, so Natalia has a job, Ben has a job. Did you accept a position yet?
No. So I actually gonna have another semester at UP. So I'm gonna finish in December 2021.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah. So right now I'm just looking for like internships, and I already have one lined up this summer. So that's what I'm gonna work on.
Nice. Good. So that was one of the questions that Naveen had talked about, was sharing your experience as as an intern. And I saw you all had internships. And the cool thing is it really complements that hands-on learning experience, right? That you all talked about, that you really enjoyed. And can you tell us a little bit about your internship that you just accepted, and when that starts and what you'll be doing?
Yeah. So I also actually have another internship that I did last summer, and I can definitely talk about that one as well.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. So that in that last internship, I was a business administration and data analyst intern for a new nonprofit called the Construct Foundation, and it's based in Portland. So basically, that that company was dealing with education system that put implementations on like how the students studying right now, especially for the K to 12 education system. And as their business administration and data analyst person, I worked on the database side of it. Created the new what do you call it? Customer relation management system, and uploaded all the new contacts, created like new possible contacts that they can improve to. So essentially, I grew their business size to like probably potentially 400 new customers, and everything was mapped on Tableau, so it will be helpful for them later on to use.
Yeah. How did you like Tableau? I saw Power BI, Tableau on different profiles. Did you use both Power BI, Tableau, SQL reporting?
Yeah, I actually learned Tableau and Power BI like by myself. So it's more about try and errors kind of thing, and it's actually really cool when you use that skill that you learn by yourself and then apply to a project at your company, and it's really rewarding at the end of the day, because you know that your work is helping someone. So yeah.
Yeah, definitely. It's powerful though, right? Using those tools to really mine that data and really get information that helps businesses make decisions. It's really interesting. Ben, did you were doing some analytics with Tableau, Power BI? Can you talk a little bit about your internship?
Yeah. So two major different growths, but both were just eye-opening for me during my internship. So I went into my internship with minimal, a good amount of SQL experience, but very minimal Tableau experience. But only really used it in one of my cost accounting analytic courses at UP. And that might have been the best possible exposure I ever could have had, because I was surrounded by people, and we actually at F5 brought in a couple contractors that worked with Tableau to come in and work on a couple dashboards that are used by sales and marketing teams across the globe for F5, because F5 is a global company. And I worked directly with one of these guys, and I kid you not, there are so many things you realize that Tableau can do for you that you wouldn't think about at first. And there's just so many I learned a lot just about visualization in general, because no matter what cool things you can develop or provide or insights that you can create on the back end, essentially a lot of your stakeholders don't know the data sometimes super well. They just want to know what, KPI, like what performance can we improve upon. And so you need to be really clear with your visualizations, and it needs to actually tell a story in an interesting way. And there are just so many subtle things and smaller things you can do on the visualization side of it to really like make that a big point. And so that was just a huge part of my internship, was learning about, because essentially my main deliverable for my 12-week internship was creating a customer 360 dashboard that was able to see our one client's like journey throughout the whole process of being a customer at F5. So how many products they own, what different, SKUs they have, like what's their value to us, their monetary value to us, all these different things, how many leads and contacts they have, where they are. And so I had to use a bunch of SQL and put together a bunch of data sources. And then I actually had to showcase what information was coming out of these data sources. And so combination of both of those, like I could not have asked for a greater, like experience. It was just a great fit. And that's why I decided to, accept that offer, because it was just like the perfect fit for me. And I loved what I was doing. So.
Yeah, that sounds really interesting. Natalia, I know you did a couple of different internships, right? You did one at UL and one at KPMG. Can you tell us about either one, whichever one that you'd like to share about?
Yeah, I'll go into my UL one, because my KPMG one was a little bit different, and it was more of a virtual experience. It was only 4 weeks, and it was more like interpersonal skills and soft skills, and like just learning about the culture of KPMG, and getting acquainted with the professionals, and just like learning an overview of what we're going to do in our practice. but yeah, that was an awesome experience. I loved it. And yeah, but with my UL internship, I did that for about like 3 summers. And I basically was like a SAR, so a specific absorption rate lab technician for electrical engineers. And basically what my job was, we had these products that weren't out in the market yet. And we were testing them for like these specific frequencies and making sure they were up to standards to like FCC standards. So, I would be working on robots and, testing the product and making sure they, are at the limits that the clients want. So, I would just be on Excel most of the time, inputting data, and then relying that information to clients. It was fun. It was hard work because, the product had to run 24/7. So I was working night shift from like 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. It was a rough like 3 months for me, but it was a great learning curve. And yeah, it was really cool to learn how to interact with clients and, just, problem solve with like if a product was defective or, not up to their standards, we could just problem solve and figure out like what is the best solution for that. And yeah, it was an awesome experience.
Nice. Sounds like you all got a lot out of those internships. And it's exciting that most of you had more than one too. So you get different perspectives from different internship opportunities. I want to ask you if you were to advise high school students or college freshmen about the OTM program, what advice would you give them? And would you give a young man different advice than a young woman? Anne, sorry, can you start us off on that one?
Yeah. So I would probably say from my perspective, going into OTM, it's something a lot of people scared because of the difficulty and technical side of it. But I would say keep an open mind going into OTM because you don't know what you're gonna find out after you go through like several classes in OTM. Because as I said before, I hated technology, and then I ended up going into a technology part of it. So you don't know what's gonna happen. So open mind. And then for the last question, I would say definitely. I know that here in the States, there's a huge disparity between men and women in going into the technology side. So I would probably encourage the high school girls go more into the technology side of it and not to be afraid of like the, I don't know, like the technology part of it. And then I think that's it. That's it for me.
Yeah, no, that's great. That's great. Yeah, it's interesting. I thought this was an interesting question that Naveen had shared. What about you, Natalia? What advice would you give? And would it be different for young girls or young boys going into college?
Yeah, so just a general like advice I would give is I think the future is going to this direction of integrating more technology in business. So I think this is the way of the future, and people should be majoring in this. And I think it's just an awesome major, and you become a well-rounded person after it. Specifically to girls, and, as a female, I'm usually maybe 3 or 4 girls of in my OTM classes and in my finance classes. And we see like we need more girls in like these STEM majors. And I actually went to an all-girl high school. And so, I've been surrounded by a lot of like, powerful and like, very encouraging, role models in my lifetime. So, one of the key takeaways that I've taken from like my experience there is just, we got to push against gender stereotypes and, being comfortable with the uncomfortable. Sometimes, I've had this as well. We face like this internal bias of, is this the right career for me? Can I actually do this? And I think like 100%, like you can, it's totally doable. And so I just think that, letting not letting this internal bias overcome you and like dictate what your career choice is, because we're more than capable of doing it. And I think that, you know, all the young girls should know that they bring in different perspective and a way of thinking to like the world of STEM, and is very impactful. And yeah, I think we, you know, we should be sitting at the table and, you know, having our voices heard. And I think it's just so important for us to be there, because we'll definitely, you know, change the world of STEM. And really hope that more, you know, young females do go into this work type, and because, you know, it's really cool. And I think it's just really awesome, because, you know, when I was younger, I always thought, you know, you had to be the smartest person in the room, but it's not the case at all. Like, you just have to have, you know, a drive, and, you know, have to be hardworking, and just have a passion for it. And then, you know, you can get through it. So yeah, you know, I just hope that more people and more women go into the world of STEM.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you, Natalia. Ben, what do you think?
Yeah, so I guess my general advice to anyone going into, school, college, is kind of similar to Natalia's, in that I I almost see OTM as like an umbrella branch for the rest of the business majors even at UP, and I just think in general, because like they're saying, and I think this applies even more so to like marketing majors over any other major. Technology is filtering into every aspect of business, and like, why not get ahead of that and learn some of that in whatever field you go into? That's why, like, I really think some more of these OTM classes should be implemented in different business majors at UP, because I think it's so applicable to the real world. And I think there are some majors at the school that maybe go out to the workforce and they're realizing that, hey, like, they're kind of expecting this of me, and maybe they don't have that skill set yet because they didn't explore OTM a little bit more. So that's my 2 cents just on OTM in general, and that I think it really is impacting, specifically the technology side is impacting so much of business. And so that's just like I can't like emphasize that enough, and I've like seen it firsthand, and I just really think it's a really important factor. And then I agree with what both of them said, and I don't think anybody should be scared to go into whatever field they want to, technology, whatever. I do agree with Natalia, though. There, pretty much every class that we're in, there's Natalia and a few other girls that are, we're at this point now where we kind of know who all of our classmates are. We get to a point where we're really only in OTM classes now as we're wrapping up school. So we know everyone who's going to be in our class. And yeah, there's always, a fewer group of girls than there are guys. And that doesn't need to be that way. I don't understand why it should be that way. There shouldn't be any bias towards men going into the STEM field in particular. I think Natalia is a great person to work with in a group project. And I just think, if you set your mind towards something, like, you should not be scared to go for it. So that's what I have to say about that.
Yeah, no, that's a great advice. Great advice for youngsters. And there's so many job openings. There's so many technology jobs available right now. I encourage all kids to get into technology. And as you all pointed out, like, our lives, like, there's technology in every business, in, personal lives and in business. And so I just can't encourage kids enough, all kids, to get into technology. We definitely have a shortage of technologists out there in the workforce, and those numbers are only continuing to grow. So I love the advice that you would extend to both girls and boys. My last question is really around SIM. So Society of Information Management is an organization for IT management professionals. And I'd like to hear from each of you about your experience of SIM, whether that be in your SIM club or if you've been to any SIM meetings, and talk a little bit about what the SIM scholarship has meant to you. Ben, do you want to start us off?
Yeah, sure. So I guess to answer that last question first, the SIM scholarship, I just think, is a really another great way in which SIM is able to interact with, students at UP to get a better idea of what OTM is, and we can get a better idea of how SIM can affect us. And like you said at the very beginning of this meeting, networking is so important. And I think that's one of the most important, factors of the scholarship, and just SIM in general, is it provides another network for UP students, specifically in OTM, to get to know, OTM related people and fields within the Portland area. And so it means a lot, not only to have that through SIM, but then also to have, a company, or like to have SIM be able to invest in us by providing us a scholarship. I know it means a lot to me, and it means a lot to everyone I know just within the OTM program. And both Ann and I are a part of the OTM club that is on campus that tries to, run a various number of events through SIM and all these different, other clubs and boards. And it just means a lot that you guys are willing to even interact with us and just help us out. So that's, I guess, what SIM has meant, and the SIM scholarship has meant to me.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Natalia?
Yeah, I think the SIM scholarship is just a great opportunity. My interactions with SIM so far, is doing these interviews and, meeting with people that are in the SIM chapter. And, just getting more connections, as you say, because networking is a big part of, business and going into the workforce. So yeah, just, attending, I attended some of the speaker events that they posted. So that was really cool to see a glimpse of like what they have on a stance of, like a business problem that's coming up, or, what's happening in the world related to, technology and business as it is. And yeah, so it's just been a really cool experience for that. And what this scholarship means to me is, it means a lot. And I'm so grateful that I can be one of the recipients this year, because I'm a first generation student. So this has opened up a lot of opportunities and, has helped me financially and professionally. So it has opened up a lot of doors just to meet people in, the field of IT or different respective industries that I'm interested in. And, it means a lot that, the SIM is giving back to the UP students and, trying to help them out with their career and further along them as, as professionals. So, I'm just so grateful to be a recipient this year.
Yeah, thank you. Anne?
Yeah, I would probably say that the scholarship means a lot, and I think it acts as somewhat a sign of acknowledgement of what I have accomplished, being in the OTM major and doing different projects, internship, and that kind of stuff. So I really appreciate for being the recipient of SIM this year. And then, like what Ben said about the networking side of it, I did attend several events from SIM, and I actually had the opportunity to talk to Steve Brown. I believe that he had a presentation at a SIM event, and that conversation, that informational.
Anne, was he the futurist, Steve Brown?
Yes.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I had a informational interview with him, and I learned so much about the technology and the basically the future of the world. So that I believe that it's gonna go a long way. So yeah, again, I really appreciate for this.
This is great. You are all impressive young professionals, and I'm very excited for you and your careers and what you have coming up next. And I would also encourage you, if you have an opportunity to give back to any sort of STEM outreach program. SIM has one where we partner a professional with a student, and we go into junior high and high school classes, and we encourage kids to pursue careers in technology. So I would just ask that you be open to always giving back and encouraging other students to pursue careers in IT. And I wish you all the best of luck in your careers. It's very exciting, all the things you've already accomplished, and look forward to seeing what you do next.